You ever see something so twisted on your security camera that for a split second you honestly wonder if you're dreaming? That's exactly where I was the night this whole circus started, the monitor flickering in the dark. And there she was, my neighbor, moving like a shadow across my backyard, some kind of jug in her hand heading straight for our pool, right where my kids usually do cannonballs before breakfast. It'd been a weird summer, already petty neighborhood feuds, too many late-night texts in the HOA group chat, little things that make you shake your head and laugh about how ridiculous suburbia gets, until you realize it isn't funny anymore. Because when I saw her pour that stuff into our pool, and later when Sarah, my wife, figured out that this wasn't some random vandal but straight up revenge, that's when it hit us. We weren't dealing with drama, we were dealing with a crime, and the neighbor had no clue she was about to pick a fight with the wrong family. She didn't know Sarah's husband was a detective. She sure as hell didn't know the chemicals she poured could be traced all the way back to her day job at the university lab. It started like any other Tuesday, except it wasn't. I walked onto the back patio and instantly felt something off. Not just the smell, which was bad enough, but this dead silence. You know what I mean? No birds, no bugs, not even the neighbor's yappy terrier making a fuss. It's the kind of quiet you get when something's gone real wrong. Then I saw the pool, a foamy, sick-looking green, had replaced the usual blue, and that slick on top looked like it belonged at a toxic waste dump. I'm telling you, my stomach dropped. There were dead fish floating by the filter. The pool robot had just given up and died on the spot. Mike Sarah's voice was shaking as she called me over. She was clutching her phone, already dialing 911. "Don't let the kids outside," she snapped. And that's when the cop in me took over. I stepped outside, checked the perimeter, and felt that chill. This wasn't a busted pump or algae. This was deliberate. As I started snapping photos, piecing it together, where the foam was thickest, where the wildlife had just vanished, my phone buzzed. My partner's text, 3 more pools hit last night, all families with little kids. Hazmat's on the way. So yeah, I was pissed, but also scared in that way you only get when your own family is suddenly in someone's crosshairs. When the hazmat team rolled in, white suits, respirators, the whole 9 yards, the neighbors poked their heads out looking for gossip. My daughter Emma pressed her nose to the glass wanting to know why she couldn't swim, and all Sarah could say was, "The pool's sick, sweetie, the doctors need to fix it." We shared a look relief because our kids hadn't gone in, but the what-ifs kept circling in my head. I got the call from my captain, 7 pools all with the same aggressively toxic junk. "I want you on this, Chen," he barked, "but I want your family under protection until we nail this psycho." I said, "Already on it." Sarah tried to hold it together for the twins, but she kept glancing out the window, watching hazmat cordon off the yard. That's when she saw Diane, our neighbor, Diane Kellerman, standing at her kitchen window, just staring at the chaos, not scared, not sympathetic, but almost pleased. And when she realized Sarah was watching, she actually smiled, this tiny, triumphant little smirk. Diane had moved in 6 months back, recently divorced, always trying too hard cookies, awkward small talk like she was desperate to belong. But it went south real fast. She hated noise. Especially kids filed complaints about our pool parties, even called the HOA on us for excessive laughter. We laughed it off then. Now I wasn't laughing. Sarah's phone buzzed again, her sister seeing the news, asking if we were okay. That's when Sarah put it together. This was bigger than us. Multiple pools, multiple families, all with young kids. She was about to reply when she heard that sound again. The scrape of metal on wood. She'd heard the last few weeks, always around 2 a.m., always from our side fence. We'd brushed it off as raccoons, or just the old fence settling. But now, Sarah grabbed the twins, hustled them to the front of the house, and called me, voice shaking. "Mike, we need to check every security camera as far back as they go. I think I know who did this." By the time I got home with Hernandez, my partner, and the only guy I trust in a crisis, we pulled every second of backyard footage. There it was, plain as day, 2:17 a.m. A figure in dark clothes scales the fence from Diane's yard, lugging a big jug. 2:23 a.m., crouched at the pool, dumping it all in. 2:31 a.m., she looks right at the camera, pulls down her hood. Diane, clear as daylight, no hesitation. Hernandez started radioing patrol units to check other security cameras and push for a warrant because if she had access to lab chemicals, we had no clue what else she was cooking up. But Sarah, always sharper than she gives herself credit for, spotted something we'd missed. Diane made 3 trips each with a different container, and at the end she took pictures on her phone like she was collecting trophies. It wasn't about noise or even petty revenge. She was savoring it, enjoying it. That's the part that made my blood run cold. I suited up, grabbed my vest, and when the arrest warrant hit, we moved. The lookouts we'd posted saw Diane moving around her house, clearly panicking. But when the SWAT team kicked in her door at 4:47 p.m., the place was already empty, too empty. No panicked mess, no sign of a rush. Felt like a setup. Down in the basement, it was like a scene out of Breaking Bad, a full-blown chemistry lab, every bottle labeled, every beaker lined up neat. But what hit me was the wall photographs everywhere. Neighborhood pools, close-ups of kids, my kids circled in red. Detailed schedules of when families swam, when parents weren't watching. On the table, a notebook full of equations and chilling notes about exposure times and dosages specifically tailored for kids. Hernandez read it and just whispered, "She planned to hurt children on purpose, Mike. This isn't vandalism, this is attempted murder." Then the tech found her laptop, a map of the whole neighborhood pools already hit marked in red, 10 more yellow for phase 2, every house with young kids. The timer on the screen was the kicker, a 47-minute countdown ticking down to 0. I yelled for everyone to evacuate. The bomb squad barely made it in time. From the street, I opened a video file labeled Final Message. Diane's face appeared eerily calm, sitting in her car. She congratulated me, told me I was about to learn what real consequences feel like, and then turned the camera to show she was parked outside my kids' school, Jefferson Elementary. "Your kids' laughter kept me up for months. I tried to be reasonable. You people never listen until something terrible happens." My blood ran cold. I was already running for my car, radioing dispatch to lock down the school. The video kept playing footage of Emma and Josh on the playground, Diane narrating how she'd been watching them, studying their patterns. She taunted me, saying she'd poisoned the school's water supply with a faster-acting chemical and I only had minutes to save them, or I could try to save the next group of kids at another school across town. 2 schools, dozens of kids, no way to cover both. The car chase didn't matter. Her abandoned Honda was a decoy. She'd orchestrated the whole nightmare to wear us down and force an impossible choice. I burst into Jefferson, yelling for them to shut off the water, found the container by the main valve, same oily residue as our pool. The principal thought I was nuts until I showed her the evidence. Meanwhile, Hernandez called Diane's manifesto was even bigger, 6 schools' targeted plans for citywide water contamination. My phone buzzed again, a new video from Diane, now standing inside the municipal water plant holding up a container big enough to poison the whole town. The camera panned over 2 unconscious security guards. My heart pounded. The stakes had gone from personal to catastrophic. But then I spotted something. The timestamp in her video was off. She wasn't at the water plant now. She'd filmed it hours ago. I called the supervisor, ordered silent checks. The water was clean. She'd bluffed, trying to lure me out. That's when I got the text, "Parking lot behind Jefferson. Come alone or I start with the Morrison twins at Riverside." I looked out and saw her standing in the shadows, waiting. I called Hernandez, said if she didn't hear from me in 10 minutes, send everyone. Then I walked out, hand near my weapon, but trying to keep cool. Diane didn't flinch. "You never understood, detective," she said, voice steady as ever. "This wasn't about water or mass casualties. I just wanted you alone to feel powerless." She stepped closer, holding a remote. I asked politely. "I complained. Your wife laughed at me. You ignored me, so I warned you." Then over my radio, the hazmat team called in. Kids inside the school were coughing. Diane told me she'd had access to the ventilation system for an hour. "You want to play hero, go ahead. But in 8 minutes, they'll be choking. In 15, respiratory distress." She demanded I call Sarah, tell her our kids had died because I chose my job over them. My heart pounded. I activated the emergency protocol instead, signaling hazmat and medics. I holstered my weapon and walked closer. "You want me to listen, Diane Fine?" "I'm listening." For a second, she seemed uncertain, lost. "I just want them to stop the noise, the chaos, the reminder that some people get to be happy." I told her the truth. My kids were 6. They didn't mean to hurt anyone. They didn't understand what she'd been through. She trembled, the remote shaking in her hand. "You don't understand," she started. "I said I do. You're tired, Diane. Tired of fighting, tired of carrying all that poison inside." The sirens were closing in. She looked back at the school, the sound of coughing kids rising. "It's too late," she whispered. "It doesn't have to be," I said, holding out my hand. "Give me the remote. End it now. And maybe some judge remembers you did the right thing before it was too late." For a long moment, everything hung in the balance. Then she dropped the remote and collapsed, sobbing. I grabbed the device, punched in the code. She whispered her ex-husband's birthday, the day her world unraveled. Within minutes, the system shut down. The coughing stopped. Paramedics rushed in. Emma and Josh made it out confused but safe, and Sarah hugged them like she'd never let go. Diane Kellerman was loaded into a cruiser, her reign over. The neighborhood would talk for years, lines would be drawn, and the debate about blame justice and what really counts as community would rage on. So here's my question. What would you have done? When does a line get crossed in these neighborly wars, and who's really to blame when civility dies? Drop your take below. Let's hear where you stand on right, wrong, and the cost of justice in the burbs.